Hello, welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the 1896 studios here in Brooklyn, New York. Fania Records this week just kicked off a milestone. In fact, the first release in 15 years, they decided to release DJ Louie Vega's Elements of Life project. In fact, this is Louie's first project that he's recorded in almost 4.5 years. In fact, the CD Eclipse features a plethora of dynamic vocalists as well as spoken poets ranging from Ursula Rucker to Cindy Mizell and Lisa Fisher. Tonight we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about this brand new CD. We're going to talk about his time growing up in the Bronx, New York. We're going to talk about his rise as a noted producer as well as DJ, and also talk about the origins of Masters of Work and the importance to just Latin music as well as R&B as well as hip-hop. Louie, congratulations. I mean, this record took you almost 5 years in the making, and then, in addition to that, this is the first imprint on Fania Records in 15 years.
Listen, it's a true honor to be the first on Fania in 15 years. I mean, I think that for me, just to be a part of the family, the Fania family, there's so much talent, and those are our teachers, our maestros, you know, and maestras. I mean, they're all, you know, they've taught us so much. I mean, for me, a lot of the music I make, from New York and Soul to Elements of Life, Fania has been a big inspiration, you know, so for me, it's come full circle.
What took you almost 5 years to put this together? Because this record really is more R&B based than the last project.
Yeah, well, you know, it took 5 years. I was traveling a lot, 4.5 years, touring, and for me, I'm happy it did, because it came out the way it did because of the amount of time that it took to make, and all the experiences that I had and the inspirations through those years, you know. So it was well worth the 4.5 years of making it, but I'd have to say it would have been totally different if I would have done it, let's say, in 6 months or a year.
You know, you have the usual suspects on this project. You've got your wife Anane, you've got Ursula Rucker, you've got, oh my goodness, Cindy Mizell. What is it about, and how is it that you can get these musicians to perform and bring out these different unique personalities on this project?
Well, you know, I think that's something special that I have. I think I bring the best out of musicians and singers. I mean, you know, when we're in the studio, all that magic happens right there, you know. But I mean, I'm surrounded by amazing talent. I'm surrounded by a unit, a family, you know, friends, and we're there for each other. You know, I think that when all the talent comes together, things like Elements of Life, Eclipse happens, and Lisa Fisher too. I mean, we had Josh Milan of Blaze, of course, Anane, and Cindy Mizell, as you mentioned, Ovius Maximus, the poet, and who's also a rapper. He does all kinds of different types of vocals. Ursula Rucker. I mean, for me, having the poets really brought out a lot of the storytelling, and that's what I needed, I wanted, and I've always wanted to have in my records. Because to me, when I make records like Elements of Life, they're very theatrical. They could almost be a play, I feel. And I'm just lucky to be able to have all these talented musicians and singers around me. And when we come together, it just happens. It's really wonderful.
One of the standout tracks is on the opening track on the second CD, this beautiful montage, or I would say composition. This is really something that was really kind of 45 years of your life into this.
Well, Fania is to me what Motown was to R&B. Fania is to Latin music, and it's been a big part of my life. My father was a musician for over 50 years. My mom, her younger brother was Hector Levoe, so the music's always been in my family for many, many years. So for me to be a part of this is really a dream. It's a dream come true.
Louie, you grew up, you said, musically. Hector Levoe was really a part of that Fania legacy. And what is it about Fania Records since the inception and up to now? Because like we said, this is the first project in 15 years that they've released. What is it about that label that really set the pace for Latin music, both here as well as abroad?
Well, you had people with vision. You had Johnny Pacheco and Jerry Masucci and, Willie Colon, Ray Barretto, Hector Levoe, oh goodness, there's so many. Celia Cruz, everybody. You had this super talent. And the thing is that this super talent, all of these talented people will come together and jam and just have a good time. And magic was created. You know, they could get in and just be rehearsing, and a new track will come out in like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? Because they're just feeling it. You know, they're playing from the heart. And a lot of that happened in those days when you hear, you know, check out those live shows at the Cheetah Club and, you know, and watch the Fania All-Stars playing together there. I mean, they recorded a live album and it became like a blueprint for Latin music, you know? And there was soul in there was R&B, there was jazz, you know, boogaloo, just so many different styles, even rock. They had, you know, they had all these influences they would bring into Latin music, and the way they did it, it was just like magnetic, you know, like anybody could get into it.
You know, following your career, we're talking about Fania. What was it like stepping into the role of DJ / producer, producing Eddie Palmieri as well as Tito Puente for the Eureka Soul Project back in '95?
Well, you know, being able to work with Tito Puente, Eddie Palmieri, George Benson, you know, Roy Ayers, artists of that caliber. For me, I would never think it would ever reach that point. You know, of course, I had dreams, and I've always wanted to meet and work with a lot of these artists. But when the time came, it was mind-blowing, man. It was unreal, and I thought I was in some kind of a dream, you know. But I have to say that I think the great thing was that they treated me just like, you know, they would treat one of their peers, and they believed in what I was doing and what Kenny was doing, what we were doing together, you know, when we did those records. And later on in life, they became lessons for me, and I use them now in my productions, you know, my technique and just the way that I work with different artists and musicians. So they really taught me a lot.
last month we lost a very, very integral part of the South Soul Orchestra, as well as the Philadelphia International Rhythm Section. And I'm talking about the legendary Vince Montana Jr. And I want your reflections on him as a musician and what he meant to soul music and why he's one of the most important unsung heroes of that rhythm section.
Well, I have to say, Vince Montana Jr., we worked with him when we did New Eurekan Soul. And a lot of our productions, we would ask him to do string arrangements and horn arrangements for us. And, I mean, he would put an entire string section together. I'm talking about 21 strings, flute, and and 11 horns or something like that. You know what I mean? 9 horns or whatever it was. And I can't even remember. But we'd have these huge orchestrations. He'd bring in the South Soul Orchestra, the string section from the South Soul Orchestra, on our records. And for us, that was like, what? When he did that. And we went into the studio and we saw him, preparing his music and making sure everybody had their music, and then him conducting the string orchestra and the string section. And, we played so much of his music, over the years. And to be able to work with him in the studio was something that I will never forget. He was a wonderful person, really, really warm, really nice guy, and, he was genius. He was a genius. He really, saw those musical notes before they even went down on paper, you know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about an entire string section, just that alone. Was such a big sound that could never be created with a keyboard. You know what I mean? That sound. And, we were friends and everything. When we were working a lot, I used to drive down to Philadelphia. I used to go to his house, and we used to go over the songs and, tell him what I was looking for, and then he would put his magic on it, and we worked on what we did. We did singles outside too. We did Always There by Incognito. We brought in Vince, and he did a beautiful string arrangement there. And we also did the Braxtons. We did The Boss, the Diana Ross classic, Ashford and Simpson song, and we also brought him New Eurekan Soul with Runaway and Sweet Tears, and all the segues. I mean, I'll tell you, man, I will never forget the times when I worked when we worked in the studio with Vince Montana, and even just hanging out with him, having dinner over in Philly, where he was from, in Cherry Hill, and To Be in Love, which is a huge classic in Europe. Vince wrote that song with Joe Latanzi, and it was a song that to this day is a Masters at Work classic that people even get married to over in England and Italy. Really touched a lot of people. So Vince Montana, we did a good 30 records together, and it was really special. It was really a special, and I was lucky enough to be able to work with him. And I think we met him because I think we called him or something. I don't remember, when we wanted to do this project. We had him on our minds for it. It wasn't like anybody else suggested it. We wanted Vince Montana, and he was really cool about it, He was like, what do you want to do? Let's make it happen, And it was a relationship that lasted from, 96 to early 2000, around there. And in a period of 4 or 5 years, we did, various records with him, putting together these wonderful string arrangements. So for me, yeah, you're right. He's an unsung hero because, I really feel, he deserved a lot more. I mean, he did a lot for our music, and, he brought classical, Latin together. He brought, R&B, soul. I mean, he would tell me the things he played on, like, way back. Even, like, I don't know if it was the Delphonics or one of them records from way back. Oh no, the Stylistics. Yes. He played on Stylistic stuff, and and for me, I grew up with them records, slow jams, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, he played on that as well, and MFSB, like when you hear the vibes.
That My Mood, that song, My Mood.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, for me, Vince Montana is one of the foundations of our music, foundations of our and just he's a big part of R&B, soul, disco. I mean, even our music where it went today, all the club music, remember South Soul, he combined soul music with Latin music, Latin percussion. He brought in that Latin percussion into that MFSB type sound that he was a part of, and he created his own sound, his own thing. But he still worked a lot with the rhythm section, He would always call them, they were all boys. They all worked with each other, right? And that groove, come on, man. Baker, Harrison, Young, man. Ooh, my favorites. I love those guys.
Yeah.
I love those guys, They're the reasons why we do this music today, why we make this music today. They're that backbone of this beat that we call house. They were doing it with R&B, soul, and disco. And we just heard that and did it on the drum machine. So they definitely are the pioneers of our sound, of all of our sound out here that you hear.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Bass Report, recorded live here at the 1896 studios here in Brooklyn. I'd like to personally thank the incomparable Little Louie Vega for his time, as well as the staff and management here at 1896 studios here in Brooklyn. As always, remember, please visit my website, www.thebassreport.com, for my weekly column, as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.